Hello, my name is Dami. Welcome to our YouTube channel. It's Dami and Ify here again today. And today we're talking about
sex.
Ooh, let's talk about sex, baby.
Let's talk about you and me.
Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that may be.
Let's talk about sex.
Yeah, we're talking about sex.
Yeah.
It's Valentine weekend.
Yeah.
And given the last week we spoke about how children affect our marriages,
Yeah.
it only makes sense that we talk about how those children get here in the first place. Yeah, right. They didn't fall from heaven, right? They got here somehow. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how they got here.
Yeah.
And they got here through sexual intimacy
Yeah.
between a husband and wife. So we're talking about sex in the context of marriage.
Yeah.
So let's just put that out there. We're not here encouraging premarital sex. We're talking within a covenant marriage.
Yeah.
And really, in the last 10 years of our marriage, we have learned and unlearned and relearned just a lot of attitudes and a lot of behaviors that hopefully has contributed to us kind of growing in this area a little bit more, because those first 2 years was a little messy.
Oh yes, it was. No, but I thank God for the gift of sex.
It is a gift. It is.
You know, my brothers and sisters, you say amen.
Say amen to the gift of sex. Because it is a gift.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, at least for me growing up, it wasn't celebrated as a gift.
No.
Which then kind of cascade into the way you perceive sex, and when you go into marriage, it could affect some of kind of your behaviors and your attitude to sex, both receiving and giving it.
Yeah.
In terms of within the covenant marriage. So really, from the man's perspective, what have you got? We're talking about sex, so talk about it from your kind of man, the guy's perspective.
As in what context are you saying now?
Well, I guess from the man's perspective, in terms of sex and marriage, what is it that you've experienced? What is it that you've learned? What is it that you want to share?
I would say, as you said, getting into the marriage, I didn't know how would I put it?
How to get it. What are the things you need to do to get it?
No, yes, I didn't know how to get it. I thought, let's go to bed, and that's just it. You know, I didn't know that there was a process.
Let's go, it's bedtime.
No, I didn't know that there was a process to it. So, you know, fast forward to 2 years into marriage, you're unlearning and learning, as you said.
Yeah, you're learning new things.
And you start learning new things and you realize, okay, what a lady needs is emotional intimacy.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
Don't not connect with me and care for me and just be interested in me and then say let's go to bed.
Yeah, so you're talking about like 24/7 emotional intimacy.
Absolutely.
So another thing we say security, leadership. Because I used to think, you used to say, you need to lead. I didn't get it.
Yeah, the man has a strong woman, right? So I just thought she has it handled, and I'm like, dude.
So I didn't get it, but as you get 2 years, 3 years, you start looking at Christian platforms on how to learning on how to handle maybe or how to get it. Yeah, so you learn quite a lot in that area, I would say so, and you need to, compliment, affirm your wife, saying she's beautiful, how good she's looking. It's not just when you want sex and you have it, and try and get her gifts all the time. It's not just when it's Valentine.
It depends what her love language is. If she's not a gift kind of person, if she's a word of affirmation person, or if she's an act of service person, it's kind of loving her with her own love language, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not with your love language. Because touching up on what you said, like we can spot, we can smell your need. And I say we, I'm generalizing women now.
Okay.
We can smell a guy who just, he's doing what he's doing for sex from, we can smell it afar. Because this is usually, I mean, I'm going to share some of our first 2 years.
Yeah.
So the dude may have just not even thought to touch me, kiss me for the last few days. But then you can pretty
No,
much
not
get...
kiss. No, okay. I what do you mean? Morning,
Oh,
evening,
just
welcome.
Oh wait, good morning, kiss. Welcome back home, kiss. Yes, those are standards.
So, yes.
But just random. We're
Yeah.
talking random.
Yeah.
Random, just random. Appreciating your wife's kiss, not the good morning. He may have not done it for days, right? When the need is high, that's where you go get kissed every half an hour. Now you see, when I'm getting touched and kissed every half an hour, I can smell it from a mile, and I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
dude. Okay. But if it's something that you do as a general lifestyle, I would say now we've grown a lot more. And because it's a general lifestyle, when it starts to touch and kiss and compliment, I'm not like, ooh, somebody's knocking at the door. You don't get those kind of just weirdness. Like, okay, it's only when you want something that you compliment my look or my efforts or give words of affirmation. So I totally agree with you, babe. It's got to be a lifestyle. The kind of emotional intimacy. It's got to be a lifestyle, because if you're emotionally intimate and connecting with your wife or with your husband, then there'll be the physical intimacy, and then there'll be sexual intimacy. And I will touch on leadership that you mentioned. Leadership is not just in terms of leading our finances, leading our, it's spiritual leadership as well. I totally agree with you. I think we need you to lead in many different ways, not just in terms of finance and dealing with the household or home business, but it's also spiritual leadership. And it's incredible how that actually does tie into getting more sex, because I promise you, when my husband started to dig deeper into the Lord and seek the Lord more, when I saw him fight for our family in a place of prayer, man, the man became a lot more sexy. He did. I'm sorry, am I embarrassing you, baby? He did. He became a lot more sexy.
You saw my six-pack spiritually, right?
I like that. I saw his spiritual six-pack, and I'm like, for me, that was it. I mean, we went through some really difficult battles the first 4 years of our marriage. I mean, the first 4 years was a battlefield. And what made me just deeper in love with this dude was his spiritual leadership. And that was so sexy. So just talking about leadership, we're not just talking about you're the boss man at work and you're earning the big dough and you're the high accomplished guy. No, that's not from our experience. That's not what we're talking about here. I'm actually talking about all of that if you can. But your spiritual leadership for me is what I would say if I was giving any advice, although you're taking the men. But I would say, actually, us women, we find spiritual leadership. A man who leads his family spiritually, we find that very sexy. So I'm just kind of dropping some out there. And I would say, from a woman's perspective, you kind of shared kind of your journey from a man's perspective. From a woman's perspective, I think my perspective, again, going back to those early years to where we are now in terms of growth, those early years, I think it's, for me, characterized by a lack of understanding of the power I actually hold as the spouse in this marriage who had what I would call the lesser interest in sex. So don't get me wrong, I love sex, but not as much as my husband. It's just the way our dynamics is. I know there are other couples that the woman is more interested than the man. I hear that that's not a lot. I haven't done the research myself, but the research out there suggests that women are, in general, if we're generalizing, women are in general the kind of spouse that's not as kind of totally hyped up about sex as the man. And what I actually lacked in understanding back in our early years of marriage is that the fact that I'm the one who's not as totally hyped up about it meant I hold so much power, and I didn't actually know that. Because if I explain what I mean, because I am not as totally hyped about it and you are, meant that you were at my mercy. In the sense that if you wanted it and I keep saying no, 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 either because there's conflict or because I haven't forgiven something, because those are the things that stop you from really being in the mood. Is the conflict, is the stress, is the tiredness, is the lack of forgiveness. And back in those days, if I look back at how it used to take me forever to kind of let go, because I was trying to make a point, hence there would be no for at least a week or two. I didn't actually realize that I was misusing my power, because I held that power over you because you were at my mercy. Because again, sex is a gift within a marriage. I'm really in a covenant marriage, but then you're kind of being denied something that you wanted because I was kind of insane with my lack of forgiveness and my kind of being not quick to forgive and all of that. And I'm just sharing this with my sisters out there, that this is the thing that I have now learned as we've grown and walked this walk for almost 10 years, is that actually if you're the spouse that have the lesser interest of the two, understand that you have a lot of power there and use that power well. Because the spouse, vice versa, if it's the guy that has less interest than the woman, or the woman that has less interest, you who has the lesser interest have a power, and you've got to use that power well, because this is a need in that spouse that really, really wants it. Hopefully you get a break every other day. For the spouse that really wants it, you hold the power, and that power, if you misuse it, and because of sin or unforgiveness or whatever, you keep rejecting your spouse, although you might not see it as rejecting, you're actually building this kind of insecurity in the spouse. And the way that played out earlier in our marriage again is there would be something that would be falling out over. It would take me forever to let it go because I would hold it in my heart and I'm trying to make a point. And because I'm trying to make a point, I would deliberately let it drag on for at least a week, which then meant that's a week of no physical or sexual intimacy. And of course the dude's knocking and I'm just like, no, I'm tired. I'm stressed. I'm not in the mood. I haven't forgiven you or whatever. And if I look back, it would start as kind of trying to gentle beg, and then it would get to being irritated, and depending on how far I take it. And it's not, looking back now, you'd be like, it's not nice to put a person in that position where they're desperate. So I say all of that to say, be careful how you use your power. Right? Do you agree? Or?
Oh yes, I agree. You want me not to agree?
I don't want you to agree, we don't agree. But it's just, be careful how you use your power. And I then lead on to this, don't weaponize sex. Because I have heard stories, many stories, of where, again, because we are all falling, we're fallen people. And because of sin, either one spouse does something to the other spouse, one spouse will then weaponize sex, and sex will become a weapon to use against the other person. Again, if you weaponize sex, you have a power to either build or break your marriage. And if you weaponize sex, you're more likely to break it.
You're more likely to break it.
You're more likely to break it than to build it. Because really, if a person feels rejected, at some point they're gonna start thinking, well, do they not love me? Okay, they don't want to have sex with me, so is it because they don't love me anymore? Is it because I'm not attractive anymore? Is it because they're cheating? Is it because there's someone else who they're attracted to? Is it something to do with me? So therefore they start to either question who they are, or it could go the other way where they just get angry and go find, because they feel angry and rejected, they just go get that fulfillment
somewhere else.
Somewhere else. So we're talking about this leading to Valentine. It's going into Valentine and everyone's talking about love and it's all mushy and sweet. But really, in kind of the Christian world, we don't talk about this enough. We don't address this enough. At least in our experience, this is not something that's addressed enough.
No, it's not.
In that you've got to learn the skills and keep learning the skills that you need to grow emotionally together, and emotional intimacy, like you said, spiritual intimacy with one another and with God.
Good communication.
Good communication.
Yeah. So as I said, leadership. So in a spiritual way, and both spiritual and physical, because they both go hand in hand together.
They do. So learn what you need to learn to then develop your sexual intimacy, because it is crucial for your marriage. It's crucial for all of our marriages. And leading up to Valentine, we just thought there's no point doing the whole everyone is in love, everyone's in love, but really not addressing. Now he has lipstick. Not addressing all the key issues that might be there. Is there anything else that we're missing?
I would say you have to speak to your spouse about if there's anything about sex that you want to talk about. So you need to make sure. No, it's the truth, but you'll be surprised how many people don't even talk about.
You'll be surprised. How many spouses cannot talk about sex? I mean, truth be told, we weren't very good at talking about sex earlier in marriage. Okay, let me say I was.
Not me.
Alright, I wasn't very good at talking about it. I just wasn't comfortable talking about it, the needs and the wants and whatever. I wasn't comfortable about it because, of course, the way I was raised, you just don't talk about it. You had sex to have babies, and once you that was how I was raised. At least that was the perception. That was the perception I had. You had sex to have babies, and once you had babies, then that's the end of it. And then we were trying to have babies, and we weren't having babies because there was too many problems. And then I was just like, what's the point of this sex business? So, you're right. I interrupted you.
So I would say, you forgot. I've forgotten what I wanted to say.
You would say that you have to talk about it. Talk about sex.
So you have
many
to.
couples.
Yes, you have to talk about it with your spouse. What you want, what you like. So when you're communicating about sex, you talk about what you like rather than what you don't like. Really?
I don't like.
You really. So I would say it's more beneficial for both parties.
Yes, but it's more positive than to say, I don't like the way you, rather than, I like it when you do.
Yes,
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Right, so let's talk about sex. Go talk about sex with your partner. If you think it's a communication, it's a conversation that you need to have. Go talk to them this Valentine weekend. Make it a to-do. To communicate well. To start to just develop that kind of skills you need for your emotional, physical, spiritual intimacy and sexual intimacy, because it is part of the gift. Sex is part of the gift that the Lord gave to us, and it would be just silly to pretend that it's not a gift and shy away from it and avoid it. So if it's an issue in your marriage that you feel like you should talk about it with your spouse this weekend with a nice box of chocolate, hopefully a good quality chocolate. Sit them down and talk about it, and just be open, be receptive, not blaming, but just addressing whatever issue that there might be stopping you from wanting to give it or receive it. And we're just trusting that this content will help open up the conversation. I think that's what we're trying to do, is open up the conversation and share some of our experiences and some of the lessons that we've learned in our marriage journey. I'm hoping that you all have a fantastic Valentine where you develop more sexual intimacy with your spouse. It's been Real Talk with Dami and Ify. If you liked our content, please like, subscribe, share with whoever you think this might be beneficial to, and together let's grow and develop a God-honoring marriage, and let's change this negative statistics of broken homes and divorces, and together let's just build solid homes and solid marriages. Remain blessed.